This is Scott Tuzinot here of metabolicmasterpiece.com, and lately I've been seeing a lot of recipes floating around the internet for these high-protein dessert balls. A lot of great recipes, and this morning I decided to get a little bit creative and try to make my own little recipes using 30 grams of Quaker oats, which works out to be close to 1/3 cup, 30 grams of diced apples, 40 grams of vanilla protein powder, 1 tablespoon of raw honey, some cinnamon, and I'm going to use a little bit of water. Probably only going to need about 10 milliliters, maybe a little less, maybe a little more. I'll show you what I mean when we get this recipe going. Alright, I'm going to take you over my shoulder here so you can see exactly what's going on in the bowl. Okay, so first we're going to put in the protein powder, 30 grams of oats, 30 grams of diced apples. I'm going to sprinkle in some cinnamon, gives a nice flavor, almost makes it taste like an apple pie. And I'm just going to grab my fork in here, mix this all together just a little bit before we add some honey. Alright, so I'll take my 1 tablespoon of honey. It's thick, so you're going to want to kind of use your fork to spread it around here a bit. Try to get most of it on my fork here so I can use that to mix in. Okay, so now I'm just going to mix in the honey. It's not going to stick to everything, but I'm just trying not to, I don't want the honey to be all blobbed up in one spot here. So I'm just going to mix it around and try to get as much protein powder on it as I can. It's good enough for now. So here I have about 15 milliliters. Actually, it's almost up to 20 milliliters. So we'll end up using about half of this. So I'm going to pour out a quarter. I just want to moisten it a little bit. You don't want to use too much water, otherwise it's going to come out too runny. So I use 10 milliliters of water right there. I have a feeling that's going to be enough. It depends on how much the texture, the consistency of your protein powder. Some protein powders thicken up really easily. So with that water, it's easy. At first you might look at it and go, oh my gosh, this is too dry, I'm gonna have to add more water. Avoid the urge to add water too quickly. You wanna really take your time with this and just spread around the protein powder. And the main thing that you're gonna wanna do, because I mean there's juice, there's moisture in the apples. So you wanna kind of press in the protein powder into like the apples, plus there's some moisture in the honey. You're going to find that 10 milliliters of water is going to be more than enough. The last thing that you want to happen is for your recipe to add too much water and it to be too liquidy, too runny. Otherwise you're just going to have a blob. You're better off having it a little bit more drier consistency. But you'll notice if you really take your time, the more I push in the protein powder into the apples, the more it's becoming moist. And you'll really be able to tell, like on the bottom, closer to the bottom, you know, it's a little bit moister there, so it's important to mix it all in. So as I'm pushing down, I'll try to get some of that moisture towards the top. I'll just mix it in, make a little mess. It's actually pretty darn close. I'm hesitant to add any more water. I think this is going to work out pretty good. I just see a little bit of protein powder, a little bit of oats that aren't quite sticking together. You want it to all kind of stick together as best as possible. You don't want to see any dry spots. You want to make sure the protein is pretty much dissolved. And rather than add water, I would rather you kind of push the protein powder into the apples. Use the moisture from the apples. And there it goes. It's already, see, just an extra 30 seconds to a minute of really pushing it in here makes a world of a difference. And then you get the best consistency for your apple. It's not all sticking together totally. We're going to roll this into balls. Coming up in a second here. So if I added a little bit more water, it would be too liquidy here. So just to give you an idea, let's get a good close look here. The consistency, it's a little loose, but I'm not seeing any protein powder in there. It's all moist, and now we're just gonna roll it into some balls. So I'm just gonna use my fingers here, bring a plate close by, and I'm just gonna form them into a little ball. I'm trying to get some apple with each scoop here, otherwise you're going to be left with a lot of apple at the end, and your last ball will be mostly apple mixed in there. So just form a nice tight ball. Usually makes about 4 to 5, depending on the size that you make and how much is in your scoop of protein powder. And I'll be posting the nutritional contents in a moment, but again, that is going to depend on how much protein, like what the contents of your protein powder. The powder I use is mostly protein, 35 grams of protein, I think 3 grams of fat maybe, and 1 gram of fat, 3 grams of carbs. So this last one, like I said at the bottom, there's going to be a little bit extra apples on this. This last one is going to be a little bit bigger than the rest, but there's 4 high protein dessert balls. There's a little bit of ingredients left. I will be using my fingers to eat that up. It's delicious. I love the texture. I mean, it's great for my sweet tooth with the honey in there. The apples give that little bit of a crunchiness to it. The texture of the Quaker Oats is fantastic. The cinnamon flavor, like I said, it almost tastes like I'm eating a nice apple pie dessert. So what I'm going to do now is stick these in the fridge for maybe half an hour, and they'll be good to go. So some high protein dessert balls, I'll post the nutritional content below the video or on my blog, metabolicmasterpiece.com. Hope you enjoy these recipes. Have yourself an awesome day.